Kylie Lynch, thank you for joining me.
Darcy, thanks for having me. If you offer me a free steak, you know I'll be here. As you can probably tell, I'm not a vegetarian.
We'll maybe get into donut halfway. The donut here.
I'm going to ask you a question. Let's flip the script here.
Okay, let's go.
Have you ever had a vegetarian on your show?
Yes.
You have?
2.
What did you cook them?
Nothing.
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 Lettuce.
I'm always led by curiosity, humans, and the one guy, which is surprising, actually maybe it was one. Maybe it was only one. One that stands out, and it was, I forgot what episode it was, but he ran around Australia in 6 months, like 80 kilometres a day.
Right.
And he did that vegetarian, which is just out of control.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know how he did it. But no, didn't cook him a steak, just had a very good chat though.
Yeah.
I did offered him some of my beef tallow as well, but he said no.
He said no. He politely declined.
Which is a shame. I'll turn it back on you. What would you tell your 16-year-old self, knowing what you know now?
That's a very memorable question. It's like I've almost asked it myself on my own podcast. Yeah. But I think the biggest thing about being 16 is telling yourself that you don't have to have it all figured out. And I would tell myself, don't do things for how people will perceive you. Do things from what you want to do. Because for too long I was focused on I need to achieve the highest things and I need to have a career that sounds good, instead of doing things for why I wanted to do them, if that makes sense. I was doing it for almost the ego, or saying that, you know, I've got the grades, so therefore I must do a prestigious career, when really, is that why I want to do it?
Is that ego important? I think I heard you speak about that on another podcast of yours.
It's almost, it wasn't just ego. For me, it was, I felt like I had to achieve high things because I wanted to make other people proud. And I think that is what drove a lot of my almost high performance anxiety. I never have had pressure from anyone external. It's always been internal, because I really care about the people in my life and I've always wanted to make them proud. And I just thought, in order to make them proud, I have to be achieving great things. And it's only these last couple of years when I've had the self-awareness to sit back and say, they're more proud of the person I am than what I've achieved.
Yeah, it's hard. Did you grow up being doubted?
Never.
Okay.
Never.
Yeah. I see how I have that feeling of trying to prove something. But I think that stemmed from being doubted.
As a kid?
Yeah, all the time. And when you think a bit differently, and you say, like, I often say things without perhaps thinking about them sometimes, and that gets you in trouble when you're a kid. And then when you don't fit in, or not when you don't fit in, but when you don't behave like the other kids, you sort of just like, teachers build up a bit of, not resentment, but they're like, they treat you differently almost.
Yes.
And then I've always had that.
The black sheep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's to the next chapter in our lives. To stand in front of a family of 600 and bid them farewell was one of the hardest things I've had to do. The memories, the friends, the happiness that McKillop has given me over these 6 years has been indescribable. To journey alongside 74 of the brightest, most beautiful girls has been one of the most, has been an unforgettable experience. And to be the school captain of such a place, representing the most amazing girls I've yet to know, has been the biggest privilege of all. Good luck to the class of 2015. This is not goodbye, just farewell for now. With every mile, a memory.
Wow, you've done your homework.
And I saw that. I'm assuming you were around, or you would have been around 17, 18.
Yeah, I was 17, so I was a year young for my year.
What do you think is the difference between, or the biggest difference between you when you wrote that compared to now?
The self-awareness that I have now. And that's 10 years ago since I wrote that post. We have our 10-year reunion this year, but Kylie back then and Kylie now are two completely different people. We still have the same values, the same ambitions, the same drive, but I've done a lot of self-development since then. And I think I understand myself and my emotions a lot more now than I ever did back then.
How would you describe yourself back then?
I was extremely ambitious. I was always worried about how I can be the most successful that I can be. I wasn't present, I think is the biggest thing. I was always worrying about what's next and how I can succeed, and to my own detriment. Then I never took in a lot of that. I loved that school so much. I put so much time and effort into it, and it was almost the first experience I've had of just people believing in us. And it was an all girls school, so you have the stereotypes that it would be an extremely bitchy place, and I never felt that. It was almost the girls could be themselves because there was no presence of boys there, and as soon as you added a male presence, they would carry on silly. But yeah, the teachers absolutely gave us every opportunity. That school gave us every opportunity, and it is probably the main reason I am like I am today. It's given me the confidence. We got to travel overseas. We got to play all different sports. We got to do debating, and it's just really, I can't emphasize enough to young girls now, school isn't for everyone, but you need to make the most out of it, because it's almost like this little echo chamber where you get to practice life and all different skills, and you should take absolute advantage of that. And being school captain of MacKillop College, I would say today is still my proudest achievement. I absolutely love that school. I love the students, and it has set me up the best in life that I think any other opportunity has.
What do you think, or how do you think you developed yourself into someone who wasn't present?
Because I was always focused about how I could achieve greater things.
Okay.
And I would never take in the things that I had achieved. And my biggest regret is in year 12, I was always at meetings, or I was always making work for myself to try and make it a brilliant year and to be a successful school captain, that I never really got to enjoy year 12, the privileges that came with it. And I sacrificed, I never had a recess because I was always having meetings. So I never got to sit with my friends and really enjoy that last year. And that's probably my biggest regret from then.
Do you look back on, are you someone that looks back on past, let's say, regrets? And I don't want to ask the question as though, like, would you do it differently? But do you ponder on, like, what could have been often?
Honestly, not really, because I don't regret it. And I think it was that drive that has got me to here.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm glad that now I do have the self-awareness to reflect. But it was that ambition that I think has allowed me to have many opportunities in my life that if I wasn't that ambitious, I wouldn't have been able to ever come across and to utilise to my advantage and to my own self-growth.
How do you think having an older sister shaped all of that?
Yeah, my older sister, she was 5 years older than me, and she was my idol. I absolutely thought the world of her. And yeah, being 5 years younger, I always thought whatever she's doing, I should be doing it. I want to be hanging out with her friends. If she's, representing a team in sport, I should be doing that. If she's learning to drive a car, I should be doing that. So she definitely shaped me into who I am. Yeah. And she still does to this day. But there was a very sort of, upon reflection, when she was 12 years old, she went through major spinal surgery. And I get quite emotional talking about it now.
Why?
Because before that, she was probably the most confident, capable person. She would have so many friends. She had really the world ahead of her. And that sort of all got taken away at 12. She was on the path to play polocrosse for Australia, She was just, such a happy kid. And at the age of 7, just seeing really your hero, just all that taken away, it was so hard. It really was. And it's so hard now because, just her confidence after that was just really low. And she couldn't play sport again. And that's sort of when I said earlier that, I want to make other people proud. I felt that if she couldn't achieve it, I sort of had to achieve it for her. So that's why, I guess I wanted to play polocrosse for Australia and do all the things that she couldn't do just for her.
I can sense, I was going to say, I can sense you feel the emotion, like you're carrying something almost.
Yeah. And this sort of comes back to that. So during that time when she was in hospital, Mum and Dad were down in Sydney with her, and I was sort of staying with my aunties and uncles and cousins. And, at 7, you don't have that self-awareness of what's going on. it was always very much, how's Natalie? And everyone's talking about her, and rightfully so. But it was kind of hard to not have that sort of attention. And I think the two ways that I got attention when I was younger was through achieving things, through winning medals, or through humour. So I've always had this stereotype of I've always been a high performer and I've been funny. And that has been great. And I still use humour because I think humour makes you far more relatable and it's easy to make friends and make everyone feel at ease. But to my own detriment is that deep down I'm a really empathetic and sensitive person. And sort of when you're humorous, you don't get really taken seriously because you just think, oh, they're, a bit of entertainment, they're a bit of a laugh. But yeah, and it's only the last couple of years that I've really sat down and I said, why am I the way I am? And I think that's really shaped me from that age.
I asked earlier, what would you tell your 16-year-old self? What would you tell your 7-year-old self then?
Oh, I'll tell my 7-year-old self that
too young.
But you don't have to make everyone, like you don't have to try and make up for your sister's surgery and put all that pressure on yourself. You're only 7, and it's okay to feel, I guess, a little bit lost and not feeling the attention and not understanding how the world's working. But yeah, from a young age, I always felt like I need to step up and to try and make mum and dad proud, like my sister proud. And at that age, you're a kid. You have to remember that. And even at 27, I still have to remember that I'm a young adult. I still don't need to have all the answers or have achieved everything yet. You're still a human at the end of the day.
Do you feel like that is the catalyst for who you are now almost, or one of the biggest catalysts going through that? Because yeah, it's a lot for a 7-year-old to go through in the sense that you're seeing someone that you look up to. And I don't know the extent to which, is she still impacted by what you went through?
She's now walking around and everything, but when she was younger, she was in a wheelchair for a bit.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was more the psychological damage that it did more so than the physical damage.
To her and?
To her.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And that obviously rubbed off on you?
It did, but again, I don't feel sorry for me. I felt sorry for her.
Yeah.
And I think being an empathetic person, you really carry that with you. And another thing with our family is we are a country family. We don't talk about feelings.
Yeah.
We never talk about mental health, emotions. It was always sort of a sign of weakness to do that.
Were you taught, to bottle it all up?
We really value stoicism.
Okay.
And there's no one who does it better than my mother. She was my other hero. It's funny, growing up, people would always be like, who are your sporting heroes? I never really had sporting heroes or, people in bands who are my heroes because I always thought if you don't know someone, how can you idolise them? So my main people growing up, it was my mum, I would say. She was my biggest hero because she was so strong and she's got such integrity. And, obviously she has faults like we all do, but she has the ability she's so fair. And she's just can take on anything. And you always thought that she was almost Superman. And I always wanted to try and be like her, I guess. So, that stoicism was really valued.
Was she tough on you?
No. And that's the thing, mum and dad are just so supportive of whatever I would do. If I said, I want to go to the moon, they would say, all right, how can we make that happen? There was no pressure. They were never tough. Don't get me wrong, I didn't get away with a lot. They were sort of firm in that regard, but no, they were very loving, but we just never really spoke about feelings.
I remember you saying that your sister was a high achiever.
Yeah.
So she would come home with medals and you would say, how do I get that?
Exactly. Yeah. She would always be getting the age champion or, the best and fairest at soccer. And as I said, on my podcast, when I was only 5, I couldn't get one, but I was also, there weren't medals to get at 5, you know what I mean? It was all about participation. But yeah, I saw that and I just wanted to be her. And I always said to mum, like, how can I get my first medal? And, she would always just say, you just have to wait your turn, put in your hard work and it will happen. And yeah, as I said, I got that first medal and I got the recognition for it. And it just became almost an addiction to get the next one and the next one. And that's, I think really where that sort of high achieving anxiety almost came from.
Is there a memory or something that stands out that sort of explains that when you were younger?
There was a time, so it was when Natalie was in hospital and it was a swimming carnival. And I think I got age champion there and I sort of went back. I was staying with my auntie at the time, and then I went back to my grandmother's, and everyone was there, and they were all saying how amazing it was that I got this age champion, and I just felt so loved and respected and seen. And yeah, I can remember that clearly. And I think I just really loved that feeling of validation, and I thought, well, that's how you get validation, by achieving things.
Did that stay or that remain as you grew up?
Yeah, I would always feel validated when I would achieve something. But it always leaves you wanting more. I guess it is just like any other addiction. It's good for the time, but then you want it so badly again, you can never truly be satisfied.
Is that sort of what you said before? I think you said something that sort of just like enjoying the moment.
Yes.
Now.
Yeah, being present and just
Being
sitting back and taking in everything, I have done and achieved, because I've got to do some incredible things. I've been extremely lucky in my lifetime. At 27, I've got to live in, different countries and meet some incredible people, do some incredible things, but I haven't really sat back and appreciated it because I've always been too focused on what's next.
What do you think the hardest part about what you went through as a 7-year-old was? Like, was it looking up to someone that you loved in that position, perhaps?
It was looking up to someone and seeing them not, or sort of no longer themselves. I think that was the hardest thing. And then me thinking, how can I help that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really?
By me achieving her dreams, obviously it's never going to be the same, but it's like she can sort of be proud of that.
Really?
And mum and dad can be proud of that. Yeah.
That's a lot to carry in a way though, isn't it?
It is. Yeah. Most 7-year-olds are probably just thinking about, what video game they can buy next. But I've always been a very deep thinker and take things on like that. So, yeah, I almost wish I was just worrying about being invited to a birthday party and what I'd get in a party bag. But, yeah, I've always sort of had more deeper thoughts than that.
Same. Is that
And
good?
here we are.
Is it good? Like, are you not accepting, but like, I like that part of myself. But it also means, I think I remember you saying, I forgot what episode it was, but you said, I don't like listening to silence.
Yes.
Because when I'm just in my own, it's a dark, I think you
Absolutely.
said a dark place.
Dark thoughts up there.
Yeah, dark thoughts. Yeah, and I'm the same. I really struggle to sort of sit down and even when I do sit down, I'm like just constantly thinking.
So what about your ability or your drive for success? Where do you think that came from?
Yeah, the doubt. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the doubt. Yeah.
Yeah. And who was doubting you?
Oh, I was okay at sport growing up. So like, whether it was at nippers and stuff with all the parents, because I was beating some of the kids, their kids that they sort of ganged up in a way and treated me in a way that was different to the others. And then I wasn't academically inclined or just learned differently. So like the teachers, I got put in a different category, like a behavioural review that sort of, was just, I don't know, like you got basically the teachers would check in with you every week to see how you were behaving. So I just felt a bit different. There's sporting stuff. Like I thought, I wanted to be the best sportsman, but I wasn't. Like if I wasn't good at it, like I just really wanted to prove people that I could do it. Like I just wanted to be like just complete obsessed. And I think you were similar. Like you've tried a lot of things, and that has like figured out helped you determine what you want to do. But yeah, just went all in on everything to try and seek some form of validation. Yeah, in a way.
And do you still feel like that?
Yeah, for sure. Even when I'm doing this now, it's
Yeah.
like I don't know why I'm like I am, honestly. Like I haven't really gone back and done that inner work. But I'm not really like complaining about it.
No, I think it's a blessing and a curse.
Yeah.
It gives you so much drive and you can do some incredible things, but it's just the ability to, I guess, learn that nothing is ever going to be enough. So you've really just got to sit with what you have achieved and just be grateful for that and be proud of yourself for that.
Yeah, I think comparison is a killer, honestly.
Yeah.
I get it a lot with people that are perhaps, I help a lot of people out with social media and stuff. And I think I've had a relatively mediocre level of growth. But when you compare it to people that have been doing it longer than I have,
Yeah.
and they're still not at the level that I am, it's like maybe I feel okay in that. But I think when you hold yourself to a high standard, you compare yourself to people that are not at your level.
Yes.
And as you continue to grow, you can constantly find people that are better than you.
Yeah.
And then it's like a never-ending cycle. But at the same time, I actually don't think that's a bad thing either because it like causes you to constantly strive. I think I have gotten better with accepting that perhaps I'm doing something good. But the podcast, for example, like I don't get, crazy messages of support and all that sort of stuff. It's just more so for me.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I'm pretty bad at analysing or taking in stuff. So maybe I do get more support than what I feel like.
Yes.
But I'm not sure. I don't know. Just keep going.
Yeah. I remember you saying that your friend's mum was your biggest supporter. So there's probably people like that who you'll never see that absolutely get a lot of value out of what you're doing.
Yeah. No, I have people message, and that makes it worthwhile when you see some of the messages. Like I had someone yesterday ask me if I had a PO box.
Yeah.
And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, I just love watching your videos. I've never commented before, but you need one because you're going to be huge.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's whack.
Yeah.
Maybe I do need a PO box, but I don't want people sending me too much stuff. But at the same time, it's like, wow, that's sort of cool.
Exactly.
I've sort of talked about myself more than I have in any other podcast before. Yeah.
The art of interviewing, hey? I can flip it.
Yeah. So you felt like the need or the desire to achieve then from a young age?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. How has that sort of played a part in what you do now?
Well, for example, now my ambitions are to play the highest level in AFL as possible. And before I did my ACL, and I've said this in my past episode, is that I really do think a lot of that was for not necessarily ego, but I always have seen success as linear and that you have to achieve the next big thing and the next big thing. And I wanted to get to the pinnacle in sport and get to the highest level. And then I feel like I would be happy or I would be satisfied. But I've come to realize that I could achieve that and I still wouldn't be 100% satisfied. So what I'm trying to do now is post ACL, I want to come back. And I think my greatest value can be in leadership and helping younger athletes to be good people first. I'm so passionate about the fact that to be a good athlete, you have to be a good person. You have to understand yourself. And I think that coaches don't value that enough. They see athletes as almost machines, but they are people. We have emotions. We aren't always going to be at our 100% peak form. But if you can get the best out of a person, you'll get the best out of them as an athlete first. So that's what I really want to instill with young female athletes particularly.
Do you notice patterns in your behaviors, I guess, when you're in that overthinking phase?
Yeah, I do. I sort of spiral and I...
Negative spiral?
Oh, negative sometimes, but sometimes positive too. Sometimes I think I have my greatest thoughts when I'm in that sort of spiral. But I guess, yeah, and that's where sort of meditation and journaling has all come in. It's given me the ability to write down thoughts on a page. And once you write them down, you just feel so much more free. And having those practices where I have to be present has just given me the space to step back from some thoughts if they are negative and say, well, is that really benefiting me? And if they're positive, I've got them down on paper that I can action them later.
What are some of your deepest thoughts at the moment?
My deepest thoughts at the moment are very much around my podcast and the greatest impact I have. I'm a lot like you in that you say you've got such big ideas and such big visions, but it's hard for me to slow down and realize I can't achieve that overnight. I'm not in the financial position to do that. I'm still very nascent. I've only released 5 episodes, but I already want it to be the most impactful podcast there is and affecting everyone positively, but it's just not possible. So that's where my thoughts are currently, is just trying to almost give myself a bit of space and say, you're doing well for the 5 episodes. Don't expect to change the world overnight.
Is that hard to do?
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think because, and similar to what you're doing, when it's not just for you, like it's not just me trying to move up the ranks in football, it's could affect so many girls out there. And I feel almost a duty to them that I want to be doing more right now, but I also need to realise that change doesn't happen overnight.
Do you see that as an extension of what you went through as a young one, in the sense that you're carrying it again? Yeah.
Absolutely. And I've only really, now that you've brought those two things up, that's probably exactly, again, what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But again, I think I need to be aware of that, but I still think that is for good.
Yeah. See, I probably need to think of something like that that's driving me. I just love the connection, though. The connection piece. I don't know. But I haven't thought of like a deeper purpose behind it.
Yeah.
Do you think that is an important factor to determine, I guess, what to pursue and what not to pursue, perhaps? I'm not sure how you'd frame that question, but like, how do you use your whatever it is, whatever that feeling is, to decide, because you've tried a lot of things. So are you just naturally curious? Is that a good way of framing?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Very naturally curious, always wanting to learn new things. I love studying different things, and I just think that I've had times where I haven't been studying, like I've just been working, and my brain doesn't cope with that well. It needs to be constantly taking in new information and having conversations with people that have differing points of view. And so that's why I'm one person that I can't just lock in on one thing. I need to lock in on several things, because to get my best from one thing, I need to have other things going on in my life.
What if someone like old mate at our presentation last week tells you just to focus on, like, is that, because I wonder, am I doing too many things?
Yeah.
And I see quotes about like people that success, I see distraction, I see self-doubt, I see all this type of thing when they've got a lot of things that are going on. Mm-hmm. Does that make you wonder, like, far out? Because I'm wondering. I'm like, far out. Imagine, and I'm not going to stop it, but I'm like, imagine if we didn't have the podcast. Imagine if we didn't have a product.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but then imagine if that one thing doesn't work out.
Yeah.
And I'm a big believer that, and this comes back to the person first over the athlete, you look at the high performing or the successful kids at school, they were always all rounders. They were good at academics, they were good at sport, they were good at music. I just think that there is so much more to a person than just one aspect. And I think if you can light up all those different areas of your life in balance, don't get me wrong, I think we have seasons in our lives where maybe I need to put more of my attention towards my work, and my relationships and sport take the back step. I think you can't do everything at 100%, but I think there is so much value in having a healthy balance between different areas of your life.
I saw a quote the other day and it said, the only guarantee in life is that shit's not going to go as expected. You can plan on that. What comes to mind when you hear that?
ACL. That's definitely the first thing that comes to mind.
When you did it, were you like, shit, I'm toast here?
Kind of. The most frustrating thing was that I just put in so much work.
Yeah.
And so much injury prevention, and it was so frustrating that everything was going well and going to plan. I was sort of, about to start a pre-season with the VFL team, and I was started to enjoy footy again, and it just happened at such a bad time that it was just frustration. And as I said, for that first day, I allowed myself to feel shit about it. I cried about it. I felt angry about it. I was having the classic victim mentality of why did it happen to me when I'm the one putting in all the work, and all the other girls who don't do near as much never get injured. But then this comes back to the stoicism or how we were sort of brought up. It's like, right, the next day you've got to get over it. It is your reality now. There's no point dwelling on it because that's not going to help it. And it's right. I'm a big believer that everything happens for a reason. And then I can sit in front of you right now and say that it is the best thing that's happened to me. But at the time, it's hard to see that. But it was just all about, right, there's opportunity in this. What can I do for the next 12 months that is going to put me on a better track? And, I do think it has allowed me the time and space to pursue a podcast, to pursue a different career, I'm also getting my PT training. And it's just led me to so many different opportunities that I wouldn't have had. And I think the longevity of my career would have been a lot shorter if I hadn't have done it, because I would have burnt out. I would have resented footy. And now I'm more well-rounded, and I think I'm more motivated to get back for the right reasons and not just to achieve the highest level.
Is it hard for you to show emotion with how you were raised?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm not a big crier by any means. Yeah. So to cry right on the podcast, that's big. Yeah. But I've definitely become a lot more aware of my emotions, and there's almost a sense of shame if you sort of cried about something. And again, that wasn't anyone saying that that's shameful. It's just, I guess you mirror the behaviour that you see, and mum and dad, they weren't big criers. No one really was. So you just sort of model that as a kid. But now I'm far more open that it's okay to cry. It's okay to have shit days. And emotions are part of life. And I think I have a better understanding of how to regulate them now, because I was a big suppressor. I would just take things and take things and take things. And once every 3 years, I would have a massive emotional breakdown. And then I was fine again, instead of just, having a cry when you need to have a cry and don't let it build up.
Do you think about, my parents, they're 60, 50, 60 now. Do you think about, I wonder whether I think about my time left with my parents and should I be spending more time with them? And, it's probably that realization I'll have when I'm 50 and they're 80. And I'm like, it's all good. It's too late.
Yeah.
Do you think about that stuff?
All the time. Yeah. And I've sort of lived out of home since I've been 17. And I've, lived in different countries. And it's funny because you don't ever think your parents are going to age. No. And you think you're going to have all the time.
Have you had moments where you look at your parents and you're like, oh, shit. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I looked at mum, hopefully she doesn't listen to this, but that's just part of life,
It is.
Yeah, and I noticed, obviously when you grow up seeing them in a particular way and then you don't see them for a while and it's like something, they're still healthy as hell. Yes. It's just like you notice the age, I guess.
You do, yeah. And it's pretty confronting because, you don't ever think that they're going to age. And, you think that they will be around forever. So it's kind of what you were saying earlier about, trading your 20s for your 30s and then your 50s to get everything back in your 20s. It's you want to achieve everything and then get to a stage where you can just spend as much time with them as possible. But the time's ticking, and that's one thing that will never change.
I heard someone go on a cruise the other day, and it was one of those cruises that, cost ungodly amounts, and people would go and they'd retire. So if you retire, you go on that cruise.
Yeah.
And there was this couple, I think he sold a business or something, and they went on this cruise. So there was a lot of elderly people, and they would drop off, or they'd go to this town. And let's just say it was in Europe. I forget exactly where it was, but in between the places where they'd go, they would get out and actually explore the town and all that sort of stuff. But the people, the elderly couples on the boat, they couldn't leave the boat because they were too old.
Yeah.
So they were like, they've saved up their whole life to go on this trip, and they can't even leave the boat.
Yeah.
And these people, they were getting bikes, riding in town. It's like, all right, make the most of it while you
can. Yeah. We put too much an emphasis on making the money and then until we retire. But A, we're not guaranteed we're going to live until we retire. And B, once you retire, you can't do half the stuff that you want to do now.
Do you think about that sort of stuff as well? Like, you talked about having like the normal job.
Yeah.
And some of the stuff you've done. Was there a part of you in your brain or part of your psyche that was thinking this life isn't for me when you were in that? Yeah.
Absolutely. Best example is that is in my career. So I grew up wanting to be a doctor, and again, this came from the fact that mum always wanted to be a doctor, but her parents didn't have the money to put her through.
Is she a nurse?
She's a nurse, yeah. An absolutely fabulous nurse, like probably the best there is in Australia. In fact, back home in Oberon, the doctors would ring her for advice. So, that goes to show. But, so she never had the money to go through with it, and then once she did, she had us. So sort of sacrificed that for us as well. So I think growing up wanting to be a doctor And then I got to a stage where I only wanted to be a sports doctor, and I had to go and see my own sports doctor for my own reasons. And I spoke to them and I just said, like, I want to be a sports doctor. I've got the grades, I've got the marks. That's what I'm going to do next year. And I'm so glad I had this chat because they said, do you like sport? And I was, representing Australia then or in the Australian squad. And I said, yeah. And they said, well, this career isn't for you. And they said, do you want a family? And I said, yep. And they said, this career isn't for you. And it was a really dark moment because that's sort of, again, what I tied my identity to.
Why is that?
Why you shouldn't be.
No, why can't you have a family?
Because basically you're 32 by the time you are fully qualified to be a sports doctor, and then you have to be at training from like 5 to 6 in the morning when they're training, then training again in the afternoon. You're away all weekends. So she just said it's not the most conducive for having a family, which is totally true. And I know that even now being sort of, a semi-professional athlete, it would be really hard having families. And that's why I respect women who are professional athletes and who have families, because it's just so many things to juggle. But yeah, I guess I went along thinking that that's what I'm going to do. And then I had to have a really big, deep think. And I said, is this really what I want? And I think when I realized it's not what I want, the person I was most scared to tell was mum, because I always thought that that's what she wanted. And it was interesting. We had the chat and she's like, Kylie, that's the biggest relief. Like, I don't want that for you. You've got such a good life that you can have and do so many other things. I see doctors every day and they're not happy or they're worked out. So it was funny, the realization that I thought I was going to do that to make her happy, and really she was more happy that I didn't go ahead with it.
Is that a weight off your shoulders?
It was a massive weight. Yeah. So then she said, well, what's the other thing that you want to do? And I said, I absolutely love public speaking. And it's funny, most people feel the discomfort behind a microphone in front of a bigger crowd, but that's kind of where I feel my safe space, as weird as that sounds. The bigger the crowd, the better. And when she said, well, why don't you, I was also good at sort of writing and things like that. And she said, well, why don't you get into journalism? And I thought, I'd love that. Like, I'd love to, at the time, I would have loved to be on Sunrise or things like that, So I went down the path of studying media and international business. And when I was leaving the last year of uni, I got offered an opportunity to go to Indonesia for 6 weeks and to do a journalism practicum over there and work for the United Nations as like an internship. And I absolutely loved it. I loved the work. I loved Indonesia. I loved my boss. Her name was Francine Harrigan, and she was just the most incredible woman. She just walked into a room and she just, could stop the room because she just had this authority about her. And she was just she had a great sense of humour, pretty similar in that stage. And when it was time for me to leave, I said to her, I was like, oh God, I don't want to go. Like, I would love to do this. And she said, well, we'll find a way to get you back. And she did. She found almost like a grad role position with Osvols. And I'd work as a media engagement officer in the United Nations over there. So I got to come back for 12 months. And I never really thought I'd work in development or sustainability, but that's just sort of what I fell into. So then when I moved back from Indonesia after COVID, before COVID, I should say, then I just found myself in Canberra and getting climate-related jobs because that's to do with sustainability, what I was working in. And I would work for the Australian government in climate change and policy, and then I would work for a smaller consulting company in like sustainable development, always in communications. And then I was working for BlueScope as a senior climate change communications, always going to like the next promotion, the highest thing. But I was always like, I'm not enjoying it. I'm not enjoying the work. And it's just because it's not my passion. I was good at it, but I just thought, right, it must be another job. So instead of changing career completely, I would just go to a different job.
I was going to say, I looked on LinkedIn, you had like heaps of jobs.
I did. I tell you what, it's funny when people say they've had one job their whole life, because I've had about 7 and I'm only 27.
Yeah.
But yeah, and again, it was the space then, like once I did my ACL, I said, I've always wanted to do media. I love sport. So why don't I marry my passion with my experience and try and do that? And I'd love to get into sports commentating or something of the likes. So I said, right, I'm going to do that. And again, the job I was in paid very well. Corporate communications is a very stable and lucrative job in some ways, especially with a climate change background in it. And then, this opportunity came up to work for Streamer, and it was a $60,000 pay cut, which was half what I was on. And I just thought, shit, is it worth it? And then I thought something needs to change because I'm not finding purpose in my job. I'm getting the Sunday scaries and, it's not worth it. So
You said you like being up on stage and speaking, but then when you're on your own, you're no good. What do you think that, when you say no good, I mean your dark place, I think you said, in your head. What do you think that is? Is it just another part of yourself almost?
Yeah, I get this, I don't know, this sort of energy about me when I'm on a stage in front of a microphone, in front of a crowd. I really love storytelling, and I think I've got a good ability to capture people's audience and, again, use that sort of humour to win an audience, and then I really like almost the inspirational chats. It's always been a part of me that I've absolutely loved, whether that's emceeing at weddings, whether that's emceeing at different events. I love being able to capture an audience and have their attention for a short amount of time, but also to give them value in some way.
You said on your first podcast that success comes from having dreams bigger than fears, and we generate fears while we sit. Mm-hmm. What do you think of when you hear that?
I think that there's a lot of people out there who know what they want, but they're too fearful to pursue it.
What makes you say that?
I have people in my life, friends that I see, and I see so much potential, so much untapped talent, and they've said what they want to achieve, but it's the action that is really hard to achieve it. And I've said this on that same episode, that we all think it's fear of failure, but it's not. It's fear of judgment, because you're so scared of, what if I say I want to achieve this and I don't? What are people going to think of me? Are they going to think less of me? So I'd prefer not to even try than to put myself in that vulnerable position.
I saw this crazy quote, and I wish I could remember what it was, but it was something that sort of talked about the amount of dreams or goals or desires that are, butchering it, but like basically buried 6 feet underground.
Yep.
And it makes you wonder. And it's why you talk about taking a pay cut. Like, I've gone from making really good money to a non-guaranteed wage.
Yeah.
Like, the only wage I had when I quit was the beef tallow. And I didn't even do the maths on that.
Yeah.
So I went from basically, really good money to nothing.
And what made you make that change?
It's what you said before. You said you looked at people and you saw what was possible. I saw that as well, and I was like, I can do that. But I knew I had the ability to do it. When I say do it, like, I still don't even know what do it is, but like, it's just like doing something that you love every day. And I think I'm a person, and you're probably similar in the sense that you love working towards something. And I think with real estate, I was all in on real estate in the early parts of my career, because I was actually building a team. Like, there was 2 guys that went out on their own, and then I was their wingman. And we were in a really hard sector of Melbourne, so we were selling land. And land is like really like, there's only like 3 competitors. It's really hard to get to the top.
Yeah.
So I was like, wow, it's going to be hard to get to that point. And I was like, this is amazing. I'm working towards this. We're going to be the best. And we ended up getting to a market leading position, but then nothing changed. Then it was like, we're here. What's next?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh shit. Now I'm a bit lost.
Yeah.
And then it just got worse over time. And I was like, okay, and then I'm looking at this thing, and I remember, like, you can't imagine what, I remember I did this podcast with someone that I really, really, really wanted to speak to. Who's from America. It was in Melbourne, and I shot my shot, and he said yes. It was just, I couldn't believe it. But he did it on a Sunday night, and then the next morning I'm like on the Monash driving to work on the train, and I was like, like the balance was just hectic.
The come down.
Yeah. So I think to sum up what you said before, it's like I just felt like there was something more from this. Still don't know what more is, and perhaps I never will, but it just felt right.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think a life without purpose is just a life wasted. And I've heard a quote, and it said, what's the meaning of life? And the meaning of life is to find a life of meaning. And that's really stuck with me. And I think for me at least, the more that I'm out there and helping others, I feel satisfied. And that's sort of what I want to do. It's I think you're lucky enough to have a passion in life, but if you can pursue that passion as a career and helping other people, I just think that you will go to sleep at night feeling so much better about yourself than you would about just chasing money and superficial things that really, at the end of the day, they're not going to make a big difference. You can't take that with you.
You said something interesting before. You said about helping others. Have you thought about, I know that sort of is the purpose, but have you thought about what you actually want from all of that?
Yeah, I guess I find a lot of value in a legacy that you can leave. And I think that's kind of the legacy I would love to leave, is knowing that, Kylie put herself out there for others. She fought for what's right. And that's what I want to do with women's sport, because I just think it's, in this day and age, it's atrocious that we still aren't getting the same opportunities. And I don't want to make it into a debate about men versus women or inequality. It's just, at the moment, it's almost a business opportunity that's just being wasted, let alone all the talent and the confidence and everything else that comes with it for young girls. But that, I think, is the greatest thing, is if you can leave a positive legacy where you've helped others, or you've created a wave to leave a place better than you found it. I think that's what I would get from it, and I'd be stoked if I ever got to leave that sort of a legacy.
Was there a turning point that allowed you to develop that mindset of helping and making an impact?
Not really. Again, I think that's something that I've sort of had instilled in me from a young age. And again, it could come back from, trying to make up for the future that my sister never got. But yeah, I think it's always sort of been there, and that was really apparent when I was the school captain. I just wanted to make change and to be, I guess, not respected, but to be seen as someone who is dependable and who people can see that I really went out on a limb to try and help them, as opposed to the titles of leadership. And
so you
like
never
that.
chase that stuff.
No.
And I think you said that you want to build a team as well. Never to a premiership, yeah.
Yeah. And that's, I think, you could go into a team today that's about to win a premiership. But what role have you played? I don't know. I just think it would be so much better to go into a team who has not achieved success, who are still finding their feet, and build them up as people. And then from that, build a successful team. There's so many examples of that where, for example, I read Trent Cotchin's book, and he came into the Richmond Tigers, and it wasn't really a successful team, but with his upskilling and with Dimmer as the coach, they built something really special, and no one can ever take that away from you. I think that's the ultimate team culture. We use culture as a buzzword. Personally, I hate it. I think it gets used too much, but there's something special in those teams, and I would love to contribute to that.
It's his birthday today as well.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, happy birthday.
He'll be listening for sure.
Absolutely.
I was meant to have him on the show, I think. So I started doing my homework, and then I think he got too busy with his podcast.
Right. Fair enough.
Follow up maybe.
Yeah.
Wish him a happy birthday.
The podcast life.
Do you think you would have all this desire and, desire to help others if you hadn't gone through what you went through as a young one?
Probably not.
Yeah.
And that's why there is such beauty
purpose
in loss and hardships and things. And I just, people who just want to live a life without any challenges or hardships, I just don't think that they get the best out of themselves or the best out of their life. You hear a lot of stories, and for me, a big one in terms of the sporting realm is Anna Mears, who, fell off her bike and broke her neck, and she was months out from the Tokyo Olympics, and she returned from that and is bigger and better than ever. And that's why I think people who have gone through long-term injuries, they just deserve it so much more, and they want it so much more, but for the right reasons. And there's such strength and resilience in that.
What are your biggest fears or insecurities? What do you think? It's a hard question.
No, it's hard, but I know it. It's my biggest fear is being irrelevant. Yeah.
It's a deep one.
It is a deep one.
How do you even get to that viewpoint?
Well, I guess it's tied into this high achieving thing, right? You want to be achieving great things and leave that legacy. And I sort of felt it when I left McKillop after being the school captain there. I didn't want to say goodbye. I find it difficult to say goodbye to things. And I guess why I didn't want to say goodbye is because I feared that after a year passed, everyone would forget what we've all achieved together and I'd become irrelevant. And I know there is probably a little bit of ego in that somewhere, but I think that was my main insecurity. And that could well be why I always feel like I need to keep achieving. So I keep on top of people's radars so that I don't become irrelevant. And I don't know where that story has even come from, or whether that too could have been back from when my sister went through her surgery and, I was only sort of seen or visible if I was achieving things. So that could also be a connection.
Do you go back to that time in your life a lot?
Not really, only when I have to talk about it.
Yeah.
And again, I've only sort of joined these dots probably the last year or two.
Was that emotional when you joined them?
It was emotional, but it also gave me a sense of relief. I was just like, God, have I always been just born completely different? But it just made me realize it just makes so much sense. And I haven't spoken about this to anyone really. So it'll be interesting to sort of have this out and mum and dad listening to it and see what they think.
They're deep questions to think about. Not even questions, it's just like understanding. I've always wanted to understand a bit more about me.
Yeah.
But I haven't. It's hard to connect the dots.
It is. Yeah.
Did you have someone help?
For that? No.
Yeah, okay.
No. So I just came to that on my own really.
Yeah.
But I have, since I did my ACL, I went and saw a sports psychologist, and to be completely honest, it was good. It made me think about things and I guess reframe some thoughts. But I'm a very practical person, and I always felt like I left being like, so what can I do, or what do I need to do? And it wasn't until I started working with Danny Kennedy that we talked about your mindset and things like that. And I started having more practical things that I could work with and understanding the law of vibration and law of frequency and meditation, which, to be completely honest, before I learned about it, I thought it was all spiritual woo-woo. And now I realize that there's such power in it. But it just gave me practical tools to use, and I think that benefits me and my personality more than just sort of talking about my emotions. And don't get me wrong, I 100% believe that people should be going and seeing a psychologist, even if they haven't got issues, because I think it gives you that time and space to sit with your thoughts and process things. But for me, I've just found mindset and working with Danny Kennedy probably more beneficial than, sitting with a sports psychologist.
You must have had a turning point to actually decide to go and see Danny.
Yeah. So I've been listening to his podcast for about 5 years, and he's sort of only jumped on the mindset stuff in the past, 2-3 years. And it captivated me because he's got such an ability to storytell and use relevant anecdotes and not be too much into the weeds of the spiritual, which I think turns a lot of people off. So the more I listened to his podcast, there was a day where I was, it was after my operation, it was a few months, and I was going to get a checkup with my surgeon, and I found out that day that I need to get another operation. And I sort of could feel myself spiraling again. And then I just thought, I was listening to his podcast on the way there, and I thought, no, it's time. I need to reach out to him. And I did. And I would say that's probably one of the best things I've ever done. And it's only been about 5 or 6 months since I've started working with him, but my life has just changed exponentially in such a positive way.
You said spiraling again. Was that what was it? Was the initial spiral when you first had the? Yeah. What about before all of that? Like, because you sound like you're in a bit of a spiral then as well.
Yeah.
Like you got super obsessed and you tied your identity to your performance and all that sort of stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So AFL only came into my life when I moved to Canberra. We were from New South Wales, so it was always NRL, rugby union. AFL was never on the cards. It was always referred to as aerial ping pong. So never really was on my radar. And I moved to Canberra after Indonesia, and I was either going to join a rugby team or an AFL team because I wanted to try something new. And I joined AFL. I was doing pre-season with both, and I ended up deciding to stay with AFL because I joined the ANU Griffins, and they were it was just such an amazing club, and you just felt so welcome. I'm still best friends with a lot of the girls now, and the boys as well who were playing there. And I loved the game. I loved that AFL has a mix of everything. You can kick, you can tackle, you pass it. There's lots of running. Like, I just think it's such an incredible game, and I loved it. And I was naturally quite good at it because I had a big kick.
60-meter kick.
60 meter to anyone. It was it was not accurate, but it was a big kick from soccer. And it just, a lot of people said, you've got this really natural talent if you want to do something with it. But at the time I didn't really. I just thought it was just fun. And I think deep down I thought I couldn't make it, because I knew what it takes to make it with polocrosse, and it's a lot of sacrifice. So I just thought, no, it's not worth it. And then it wasn't until I moved to Scotland in Glasgow to do my master's over there that I joined an AFL team over there. And again, same thing happened. Just fell into this club, absolutely loved it. And I just loved the sport, and it just gave me so much confidence back. And again, I was naturally good at it. And I thought, you know what? I was like, I may as well give it a good crack, because I do think I have the talent. I absolutely love the sport. Like, why wouldn't I? So while I was over there, it was prime train. That's how I found out about the Darwin, the Northern Territory Football League, funnily enough.
Oh, man.
Yeah. And so I said, right, well, that works out perfectly. Like, I finish up here September, their season starts in October. I'll go and get 6 months in where I'm playing, because in Scotland we played, once every couple of months, and it was all for the beers and the fun. So I thought I need to go get fit, need to get my skill up. So I moved to Darwin and do their season, and I did, and I absolutely loved it up there. It was a phenomenal environment to be around. It was social, but it was still serious, and the level of talent up there is completely off the charts. It's untapped. There's lots of ex and current AFLW players and AFL players that go up there, and I loved it. I really did, and I sort of gained my touch back, and I gained my fitness slowly but surely, and then we won the premiership up there, and that was very special because I really love the girls up there. They're a great team and just a great environment to be around, and that's still, I think it's going to be a hard one to beat because there was only a couple of points in it. And mum and dad went up there, and my friends' families went up there. Like, it was a really special time. And then the idea was, after that, I moved straight down to Melbourne and I try and get picked up with the VFL side. So I did. I moved back and really locked in. So I was like, right, I need to take this seriously. I need to get a strength and conditioning coach. I need to get extra coaching outside of just my general club sport. And I became obsessed, to be honest. Everything, my whole life was revolved around footy. And I would say no to friends for going out because I had footy on the next day, and even my diet and things, I would get a little bit obsessive over and be like, I need to lose some weight so that I'm ready to go for footy, and carrying extra weight is going to slow me down and things like that. It really did take over my whole life. And you know it when you're in it, but you don't want to admit it. And I didn't want to admit it. And, I was getting up at 5 a.m. every morning. My gym was about 30 minutes away. So I'd drive to that, come back, shower, go to work. And then I'd leave work at about 3 o'clock to make sure I could get out and get a few laps in, a few kicks in before training would start. And then training goes until about 8. You wouldn't leave there until 8:30. So it was kind of 5 a.m. to 9 o'clock every day. And I wasn't sleeping well, wasn't fueling well. And I just really mentally was in a dark place, but I felt like I couldn't tell anyone because, like, I'm the one who's buying into this. This is sort of my journey. And then I started getting injured. I was getting quad strains, and as I've mentioned on my podcast, that I think there is such value in doing more research around your mental state and injury and soft tissue injuries and things. And Trent Cotchin actually talks about that in his book, that a lot of his soft tissue injuries aligned when he was under most stress externally. So, and that just only made it worse. When you're injured, you're isolated from the group. You have to do extra rehab on top of everything else. And I just started feeling angry. And it wasn't just frustration, it was anger. And I started seeing girls that they wouldn't warm up properly, they would half-ass everything, and yet they would never get injured. And I just always thought, why me? And I know now that is a very victim mentality to have, saying why me, but that's just what I was in. And then so that's when I said, I need to give up footy or I need to do something different and seek help. So I went to see a sports psych and we just had to deconstruct everything. And when she was saying, why are you playing footy, it always came back to me being like, oh, Chris, I need to make the next level. And then she said, but what made footy so special to you at the start? And I always said it was the people. I absolutely loved the people. And we played for fun at ANU Griffins and we won the flag that year. And it's funny because as a team, we probably weren't the best on paper, but we had a coach who absolutely loved us and who we would do anything for. Like, I don't think we hardly talked about footy much at training, but we would just go out there and there'd be this unspoken on-field chemistry that I don't think has replicated since. And it was just an amazing environment to be a part of. And I was feeling in my current footy team at the time that I just didn't feel that. It felt very isolating. It felt very competitive and there was a lot of pressure from different people. And yeah, I just wasn't enjoying it. And by default, I was playing poorly. I was getting injured and I just thought, yeah, it's not worth it. So the sports psych said, right, well, let's try and completely detach all the emotion you're feeling about the outcome and how well you're playing, because how well you're playing does not define your worth. And that's, I think, was a big lesson for me. And once I eventually got back from injury and got out there, I said, right, I don't give a shit about how I go. I don't care if I miss every goal. I don't care if we lose by 50 points. I'm going out there just to kick the ball and just have fun. And by default, I started playing better because I'd completely detached from the outcome. And the more better I played, the better I got. And things started to fall into place for me. I started getting VFL recognition and I trained with the team for a while. And then we're in our prelim final and my dad came down to watch me play. And within the first 10 minutes, I tackled this girl over my knee and I could just feel my knee completely go. And I knew straight away. I was like, oh shit, that's the ACL. And I had my teammates and they were in tears around me. And because everyone's like, they were really good. They knew my sort of goals and aspirations and then they saw how hard I was working and they were just like, oh shit, it's cruel almost. But yeah, so that's sort of how it turned out. And then I went and I come off the field eventually and my physio said, no, I don't think it's an ACL. I think it's just a meniscus tear. A little meniscus tear, you might be out for 3 weeks. And even at that time, because this was prelim finals, I thought, shit, I'm out for 3 weeks. Are you serious? Oh, God, I wish I would have taken that penalty instead of the 12 months out. But, yeah, so it was just it was a really, really dark time. But, yeah, I think I've learned a lot from that. And, again, the ACL was a blessing in disguise.
Yeah. Why was it dark?
It was dark just because I think of all the pressure I was putting on myself and I wasn't achieving for once. I really wasn't.
So you blaming yourself? Almost.
Yeah, I think I was. I was blaming myself, but I was also almost blaming others that it wasn't happening to them in a weird way. Yeah.
Yeah, is that something, it sounds like you sort of got over that in a way, but were you dwelling and sorry for yourself and all that sort of stuff during that time of your life? Yeah,
I was. And I think, again, it was that kind of negative, almost victim mentality. And has since working with, Danny and doing my own reflection, that's been the biggest shift, is that just seeing the opportunity that was ahead of me, not having football. And I think I mentioned this as well on the podcast, is that I say that I was so frustrated and upset, but I also felt so relieved because it was out of my control. There's nothing I could have done to come back earlier with my ACL. I just felt like, oh, finally, it's all stopped.
I know Danny won't like me saying this, but have you thought about a life in which you don't play footy again?
Yeah, I have. And I've seriously considered that, since being out. But I've come to realise that why I do play footy again and the happiness it gives me. And, yeah,
You're okay with it?
I'm okay with it. Yeah. And I'm more motivated than ever to come back.
Do you think you would have said that a few months ago?
Yeah, a few months ago, yes.
If you're okay.
Yeah,
okay with it,
I think the time that if you asked me about it would probably be just before the ACL. That was the darkest point. Even having done it, it wasn't as dark as the probably 2 months in the lead up to that.
Why?
Because once I did it, I had to shift my mindset. I had to go into, right, you've done it now, so what can you do differently and how can you use this as an opportunity?
What's a dark Kylie look like?
God, you don't want to know the thoughts.
Tell me.
No, I think I beat myself up a lot. I overdo things. Like I think I'm not doing enough. I'm very unkind on myself. I also don't think that I probably treat others in the best light. Like I don't give them the time, the energy they deserve. The people that I'm harshest on when I'm stressed or pressured is my parents, and they don't deserve it, but they're kind of the people you feel most comfortable with to sort of to be.
And they're your biggest critics as well.
Yeah, exactly. But it's funny though, like I say that, but people wouldn't have known that I've been struggling because I do put on such a brave face. And that's another thing, and that's, sort of similar to what I was saying about my mum, is you forget that people who are so strong go through things and feel things because you just think that, they're always okay. So, yeah, just having a few people in your corner that know that, yeah, you can be strong, but like you're also human. You can feel things as well. And just having a few people check in, it means the world. So if there are listeners out there who do have people in their lives that are strong, I urge you just to check in with them still, because they might appear that they've got it all figured out, but deep down you don't know what they're going through.
I think that enough piece is interesting. Despite everything I'm doing now, I'm like, of course, what could I be doing more of?
Yeah. Yep.
And I wouldn't say it's tiring. It's just like, yeah, you wonder whether there ever will be like a level of contentment or peace or something.
Exactly. And it's kind of scary in a way, because you're like, when does it all get to stop, or when do you start feeling happy and satisfied?
Do you think you've got like, you've obviously got some obsessive traits. Have you explored that sort of stuff?
Not really, no. Yeah,
So I've got an ability to absolutely lock in and just forget about everything.
Yeah.
But I've never.
Yeah.
I got some traits, I guess, and I don't really feel the need to understand them. But I'm sure I would get some benefit from trying to.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can use weaknesses as your strengths as well, right? So, and you are clearly what you're doing with your YouTube channel and everything as well. So I think if you've got traits like that, you can use them for good, but it's a self-awareness piece again, that you've got them and how you can deal with them.
That enough piece, do you feel like you are enough?
I feel as though I'm coming to realize that I am. It's been a long journey, and I'm definitely not a flawless person. I have so many imperfections and the things that I need to work on, but I am starting to realize that, as a person, in terms of values, I am a good person. And I think I need to put more weight on that as being the person who achieves big things.
Some wisdom in that.
There is. And it just makes you think, like, for example, at a funeral, all you hear about is how good of a person they were or how they made you feel. They never get up there and say they earned this amount of money, they achieved X, Y, and Z. And, we don't know how long we've got. So I really, at the moment, am trying to put more value in how I make people feel and leaving everything better than I found it. So even, for example, this morning, my thing at the moment is when I walk past a stranger is just to look at them and acknowledge them, because you don't know what day they've been through and you don't know what they're like. They might feel invisible at home. So even you just acknowledging them, you don't know what a difference that could make. And it's not hard to look at someone instead of looking down at the ground or at your phone. So things like that I'm really just trying to chip away at. And
you spoke about your funeral and stuff. Do you think about, I'm a deep thinker as well. So especially now that you're giving me this thing, I got to stop playing with
your party.
I'm really bad with when things are there. I'm like, that's why I keep this table pretty empty. But like I think about, like how quick this 30 years has gone, or even the past 10, and I'm like, oh shit, like, the clock's ticking.
Really is.
It's like you got to make the most of. My barber is 16.
Wow.
And he just runs it out of his garage. Love supporting him. Always give him a little extra tip because he's cheap as anyway. But I said I'm turning 30 on Thursday. I think I saw him on Monday. I needed to make sure I look sharp for this podcast,
Absolutely,
obviously.
Yeah.
And I looked at him. I said I'm turning 30, and he was like, "Wow, man." But I remember being that age and I was like,
I think 30's so old.
oh, yeah, you're like, that's never going to happen to me.
Yeah, no. Yeah. And even like my mum and dad, they're 62. Hope they don't mind me saying that. But God, like you just think that that's old, like really, really old. And you're just like, that's only another, I've just got to live my life again and I'm there another 30 years. So yeah, it's pretty scary.
Make the most of it.
Yeah.
Is there anything we haven't touched on today that you'd want to touch on?
I want to, being your 30th birthday today, I want to ask you 2 questions.
Sure.
The first one, what is the secret to a good steak?
Practice.
Practice?
Oh, it's hard. I mean, I'm just like super obsessive. So I do it once and then I just try and get better each time. I think it's patience though. Patience is probably like, especially if you got a thick one, like you can't rush it. So that's probably the secret. And obviously getting the right steak.
Yeah.
Getting the right steak. I see too many people cook them too thin and then they can't get a crust and it's no good.
Right.
We could go on for hours.
Yeah.
There's so many different ways to cook a steak. So, yeah.
Do you think that is an analogy to life?
In what sense?
There are so many different ways to cook a steak.
So many different
Patience.
ways to do life.
Yeah, and practice. Which then brings me to my last question. You're 30 today. In your opinion, what is the secret to a good life?
Purpose. Yeah, purpose. You need to I genuinely think there's nothing better than waking up every day with a clear goal. And whilst it's messy, whilst you wonder whether you can keep going, not keep going, but you're just juggling so much. It doesn't feel hard when you're working towards something that's big. And I think the fact that it's so uncertain as well is just so cool. Because like I know for a fact that my housemate sent me a message today saying, this is the year you break free. And I genuinely feel like I'm on the edge.
Yeah.
I'm about to take a leap.
Yeah.
And it's bloody cool. But it doesn't stop the fact that like the right now is like really hard. But that's sort of the beauty of it all at the same time as well.
Yeah.
I asked, what's that question? What's the purpose? What's the reason of living a good life? What was the question again?
What's the secret to a good life?
Yeah, what's that question for you? Or I asked that question to you, sorry.
I think the secret to a good life is to be present and to be grateful for what you've been given, because it does not matter how shit of a day you're having, you are going to be so much better off than someone else. And I think there's a lot of power in thinking like that instead of thinking what I don't have and what I would love to have. Start thinking about what you do have, because if you operate out of gratitude, I can guarantee you're going to feel a lot better about yourself.
I think that's why wearing this sort of stuff is pretty cool.
The H-Man.
Yeah, makes you realise that what you got and the life you've got is, even just being born where I am or in the family that I am, like that
is a blessing.
That is a blessing that millions, billions would kill for. And
Absolutely.
you don't even think about it.
No, we don't.
It's a good way to end it. Appreciate your time today.
Thank you very much for having me on, and I appreciate these conversations that you're having with people. I think it's really going to make a big challenge a big difference. And happy birthday. I can't wait to see what the next 30 years has in store for you.
Buckle up. Let's go. Awesome. So good.
Well done. Jesus.
That was good?
Oh my God. Yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
Didn't think you'd get me to cry. You did the first 5 minutes.
I didn't either. Well, that was cool. Like I didn't just let it happen, and I don't know whether the conversation went there or not. I'm not even sure if I asked the question that was
I brought it up.
Yeah.
And I didn't, And it's amazing, and that's the power of these conversations is the dots start joining again. You're just like, oh, that could be why. So,
maybe
awesome.
that's the purpose, connecting the dots.
Exactly.